I stand amazed in the presence of Jesus the Nazarene, and wonder how he could love me, a sinner condemned unclean. How marvelous, how wonderful, and my song shall ever be. How marvelous, how wonderful is my Savior's love for me. He took my sins and my sorrows, he made them his very own. He bore the burden to Calvary, and suffered and died alone. How marvelous, how wonderful, and my song shall ever be. How marvelous, how wonderful is my Savior's love for me. No matter the bumps, no matter the bruises, no matter the scars, still the truth is the cross has made you flawless. No matter the hurt or how deep the wound is, no matter the pain, still the truth is the cross has made you flawless. With the ransom and glory, his face I at last shall see. 'Twill be my joy through the ages to sing of his love for me. How marvelous, how wonderful, and my song shall ever be. How marvelous, how wonderful is my Savior's love for me. No matter the bumps, no matter the bruises, no matter the scars, still the truth is the cross has made you flawless. No matter the hurt or how deep the wound is, no matter the pain, still the truth is the cross has made you flawless. How marvelous, how wonderful, and my song shall ever be. How marvelous, how wonderful is my Savior's love for me. Is my Savior's love for me. Is my Savior's love for me.
I do believe we have a mission moment. Get that slide up there. Mission moment. Where is it? There it is. Okay, it says, Lord, we give praise for the 162 world areas in which the Church of the Nazarene has a presence. May your guidance be evident in every location and your love abound. There is still much to be done around the world, and we look forward to how you will allow us to labor together for your glory and in your grace. Father, there are also places where the church does not have work. Nazarene leaders desire to take the church into these areas, some of which are extremely resistant to the gospel. Oh God, grant the Church of the Nazarene open doors to go where we are not yet. We go to not only tell about Christ's salvation, but to make disciples in all nations. We ask for your perfect wisdom as strategies are developed and carried out globally. Also, Nashville Grace Church across town just sent their mission team to Guyana, South America. My brother Kyler and Leah, who y'all have seen here around sometimes, went on that trip, and they are there now, and last we heard from them, they got there safe and they're resting up. And that's that's what we got for the worship moment.
Through you the blind will see, through you the mute will sing, through you the dead will raise, through you all hearts will praise, through you the darkness flees, through you my heart screams, I am free, I am free, I am free to run, I am free to run, I am free to dance, I am free to dance, I am free to live for you, I am free to live for you, I am free, I am free, I am free, I am free. Stand with us, here we go. Through you the kingdom comes, through you the battle's won, through you I'm not afraid, through you the price is paid, through you this victory, because of you my heart sings, I am free, I am free, I am free, I am free to run, I am free to run, I am free to dance, I am free to dance, I am free to live for you, I am free to live for you, I am free, I am free, I am free, I am free, I am free to run, I am free to run, I am free to dance, I am free to dance, I am free to live for you, I am free to live for you, I am free, I am free, I am free, I am free, I am free. What a great song. Greatest day in history, death is beaten, you have rescued me, sing it out, Jesus is alive. Empty cross, the empty grave, life eternal, you have won the day, shout it out, Jesus is alive. He's alive. Oh, happy day, you wash my sin away. Oh, happy day, I'll never be the same. Forever I am changed. When I stand in that place, realized needing face to face, I am yours, Jesus, you are mine. You are mine. In this joy and perfect peace, every pain finally will cease. Celebrate, Jesus is alive.
time to worship with the family. Oh, I'm loving it. I'm loving it. We're going to take a moment here and have our ushers come forward so we can pray for the tithes and offerings.
So thankful to be able to gather together to worship you and just give you back a portion of what you bestow upon us. We just thank you for people's hearts that want to serve and give back to the Lord. Thank you all you may bless.
Jealous for me, love's like a hurricane. I am the tree bending beneath the weight of his wind and mercy. All of a sudden, I am unaware of these afflictions eclipsed by glory, and I realize just how beautiful you are and how great your affections are for me. And oh, how he loves us so. Oh, how he loves us. Oh, he loves us so. He is jealous for me. Love's like a hurricane. I am a tree bending beneath the weight of his wind and mercy. All of a sudden, I am unaware of these afflictions eclipsed by glory. And I realize just how beautiful you are and how great your affections are for me. Oh, how he loves us so. Oh, how he loves us. How he loves us so.
We serve an awesome God.
That's right. There's no time like the present
Amen.
for me to give praise and honor to the Lord Jesus Christ. You ask me how I know He lives? Well, I know He lives because He lives within my heart.
Amen.
And I had a week that started off sort of rough, but I want to tell you, before the weekend came, I had the opportunity to experience that in the purest, genuine form of God's love, grace and mercy.
Amen.
I thought that I was just reaching out to a friend on Monday morning, but by Friday evening, I realized that God had blessed me and the other people with a gift that money can't buy. Nobody can take it away. And I feel honored and privileged above measure for what God has given us.
Amen.
And even the few small words that I can say is not near enough to give Him all the glory He deserves.
Amen. Amen. I did want to thank everybody who helped out with Youth Sunday. I mean, we're going to nail it down one of these days. I promise you it's going to be real smooth. One of these Youth Sundays, it's going to be like, wow, they practiced this. And I won't tell anybody we did or we didn't. But if you allow me, because I haven't had an opportunity to get my feet set, to get a moment to talk about a few things before we get into the Word today, it would be much appreciated. Again, thank everybody who helped out with Youth Sunday. We have to train up the future church, or the church now, as we call them. We have to be ready. You know, we were once those people. I remember when I was the one getting up there and doing the announcements, and I would say, look at the program and sit down. So, you know, it's a proving process, and I thank you all for understanding that. And if you have any young adults, then push them into it. Let them know, you know, get them feet wet, jump in the water, break the ice. But let's have a word of prayer. Dear and all-wise God, we thank you. You're an amazing God. We thank you for this opportunity to worship you in the beauty of holiness. We thank you for your Spirit, which is already here, Lord God, for every facet of service, Lord God. Even when it was just waking up in the morning and someone praying about what's about to happen today. Lord God, we ask that you touch from the pulpit to the pews, from the pews to the homes, Lord God, of people who couldn't come. We ask that you touch the sick and the shut-ins that aren't sick. We ask, Lord God, that you touch them in a way so that they understand who you are more and more. Help us in this life of discovering what a mighty God that we serve, that by the end of our road, help us to be ready, Lord God, when we meet you in the sky, to be able to have a better concept of just how great you are. Help every day that we get to experience you be one that is new and brings brand new mercies, brand new grace, brand new understanding, Lord God, so we can look back and say, so that was you, God. That was you. Help us to have that was you, God, moment on a day-to-day, moment-to-moment basis as we continue to present the word to the people who are in bondage, that don't believe in you. Lord God, help us to have better words, Lord God. Give us the wisdom and the understanding to go and get the lost. Give us the peace of mind when we go through trials and tribulation to know that you are God. Help us, Lord God, to be more like you, not more like the pastor, not more like what they do on TV, but Lord God, help us to be more like you. Help us to understand what that means in our context, in our day-to-day routine. We ask, Lord God, that whatever we get taught today, that it's immediately implied or, Lord God, implemented in our life day to day, Lord God. Help the word that comes from our mouth not be mine, but be yours, Lord God, so that we may take what is given to us and be nourished for the week, God. Help us to have the strength to minister, Lord God, to go, to connect, to serve, Lord God, and to continue to fight this battle through prayer, Lord God, meditation, focus, and the reading and understanding of your word. In the matchless name of Jesus we pray. Amen. Amen. Oh, we serve an awesome God, and I can't wait to talk about what we're talking about today. Again, we're into our series, My Time on Holy Ground, and I know that last Sunday I said this would be the last one, and then I said maybe. The maybe is the key. We got about 2 more weeks on this series as we understand more about the prophetic training that Moses received in this portion of Exodus with his time on holy ground. So we're looking at Exodus chapter 4, verses 6 through 8. If you have it, say amen. If you don't, if you got really good glasses or really good eyesight, then you can read on the screen here. And it reads, "Then the Lord said, put your hand inside your cloak. So Moses put his hand into his cloak. And when he took it out, the skin was leprous. It had become as white as snow. Now, put it back in your cloak," he said. So Moses put his hand back into his cloak, and when he took it out, it was restored, like the rest of his flesh. Then the Lord said, "If they do not believe you or pay attention to the first sign, they may believe the second." Can church say amen? Amen. All right, again, so last week we talked about what happened last week, which was the fact that he threw down the staff and God turned into a snake. He was afraid. And then God told him to pick the snake back up. He picked the snake up and it became his staff again. And that was God showing him that he had the power over over creation. And of course technology does what technology does. And so now we're looking at the part in which God has called him to put his hands in the cloak. And let me tell you this, in every opportunity that God has made in this situation, what happened is that when God spoke, Moses did. Amen. Every single time. It wasn't like, oh, I don't want to throw it down because you might turn to something that's scary. It was God spoke, Moses did. And we have to come to a point in our own walks with Christ that we can be that strong. And the funny thing is, I can't even talk about his strength in the Lord, because even though he did, and even though God showed wonders and miracles, every time he would come back to God and it was his turn to speak again, he was like, but what if? So I can't even say, but if we could just get that one step in where God says, and we do, think of all the things that God could do in our lives. We can stop making these silly mistakes and saying, well, God, where were you? And God says, well, I was standing on the choice I told you to do. And then God comes in and he swoops down like the Savior that he is, and he makes our situation that we're currently in by our own dishonor and lack of faith in him, and he turns it around in our favor. That's the type of God that we serve. But we should be a people that can pray hard enough, can say, God, no matter the tough choice we have to make, this is what I'm going to do because you said it. And the biggest issue that we have with that is that we don't feel like that decision is a safe one because of whatever it is we're looking at. So let me tell you something today. There is no protection from God. And for everybody in here, that should be an amen moment, because there's nothing that can protect you from God, which means God can penetrate the most impenetrable hearts because he is God. And for those of you that are facing decisions that you don't want to make, let me tell you something. No matter what you are facing, no matter how big or how treacherous or how deadly the disease may be, or no matter the family member, no matter the being ostracized, there is no protection from God. If God says do it, then there's nothing that can stand in the way of God's will to block you from his promises. Amen. You got to understand what this cloak represented. Now, when he had this cloak on, the cloak is not only a covering, but it's protection. And from the inclement weather, it's protection. Some of these cloaks that they had, according to a lot of the theologians out there in commentary land, were so thick they were protect against snake bites. It can be used to fight off, when you get into an altercation with an animal like a wolf or something, it's thick enough to where it won't penetrate on first or second blows. This was protection. And God told Moses to stick your hand in there. There is nothing that can protect you from my will, my word, and my power. What a mighty God we serve. The next thing is, you got to understand that when he put his hands in his cloak, he pulled out a leprous hand. And what leprosy represents is contamination of sickness and of sin. So the next thing is that God's holiness has no equal. Here's the thing. Now, I want you to walk with me on this one. We, in the beginning of this series, talked about how when we get to the point of God's holy ground, that there's going to be some things we have to take off, right? We talked about that. There's things that we have on us and in us that prevents us from getting close to God. And so they kicked those off. So Moses did it. He kicked off the sandals. And now he's standing on holy ground. And here he is on holy ground talking to God, put his hands in his cloak. And what does God do but bring out one of the most unclean diseases there could possibly be? How can this be? This holy ground, this holy God can infect this man with this. From the outside looking in, we would say, oh, what did Moses do to deserve this type of treatment? Oh, we have to pray for Moses. There is nothing that we can do. He must have sinned against God. But let me comfort someone today. God's holiness is not affected by the things that we deem unclean. Amen. What a mighty God we serve. That means that even though you are serving God and you are walking with God and you are talking with God, He may put you in a situation, that perception that everyone else can have is like, this is not of God. But let me tell you about a holy, awesome God that we serve. That sometimes He'll put you in a situation just to make sure that everyone around you know that it's God that puts you there. Right. What an awesome God. And I say this time and time again. Even though God has called you somewhere, that does not mean the people there acknowledge God's the one that called you. So we must allow God to open the blind eyes of the people to say that this is God. And even at the end of the scripture, he says, and this is the second sign. If they don't believe the first one, then they may believe this one. Which means that His holiness will come upon you, and there will be other times where you will feel like, why is this happening? And God just wants you to rest in Him, knowing, God, you placed me here. So everything that happens and according to this is your will, your good and your perfect will. So let's rest in the fact that God, your holiness has no equal. I don't care how much esteem this person thinks they have and how built up these people think they are and how much power they feel like they have over me to shun me or alienate me. God, your holiness has no equal. We serve an awesome God. We serve a mighty God. So we have to be connected to the source. In 1 Peter 1:16 it says, because it is written, you shall be holy, for I am holy. We serve a holy God. And if you look in the year that King Uzziah died, you had this priest who was the most righteous of all people because he walked into the holies of holies. And yet when he saw God, all of a sudden he said, I am a man with unclean lips and unclean mouth. Now listen to me now. Now get with me here. He was the most. He could go in the holies of holies. I mean, they used to tie a bell and string to their legs, because if they ever wasn't in right standing with God, they would fall dead. And when that ching ching stops, we got to find a new priest. We got to find someone else because he's not holy. They just drag him out. It was such a place that they didn't even go in and get the body. I shun to think what would happen if the string broke. But it probably the old priest had to go, the new priest had to go get it. But this type of holiness that God has looked upon this prophet and saw his uncleanliness. And let's just backtrack for a second, because I want to give this beautiful picture of how holy God is, because someone is not understanding what I'm saying. There were angels, cherubims flying over God, over the throne of God. And with two wings they covered their eyes, and two wings they covered their feet, and with two wings they flew. So these angelic beings that have no introduction to sin were still unworthy to look upon him and still unworthy to show their feet. So they couldn't even see him because he was that holy. And then with that being stated, they took the coal from the altar and they touched his mouth. And literally, let me tell you something, back going further in the Leviticus law and down through the years, if something clean touched unclean, the clean thing became unclean. But let me tell you about the holiness of God. He has the only holiness that his cleanliness can overthrow any sign of uncleanliness. That means, back to my first point, that no matter how much or how far you bury something inside of you that you don't want to tell God, I want you to know this: there is no protection from God, which means He knows those things in your heart that you know are unclean, the things, the thoughts, the actions, the deeds that you are afraid to give to Him, and you're holding it for no reason, because God's holiness has no equal. Give it to God and He can make it clean. Nothing with God is how it seems. That's the thing we got to also know. Nothing is how it seems, okay? Here's this staff that becomes a scary snake, and then he picks it up and it's a staff again. Here's this man who puts his hand in his cloak, which is the cloak he probably woke up that morning, just get it all out the door. He woke up that morning, probably rolled over, kissed his wife, and said, I'm going to go get the sheep. She says, okay, honey, go get the sheep. He goes out, gets the sheep, sees this bush. Hey, there's a bush, it's on fire. Let me go check that bush out. And she goes, checks the bush out, and it's God, and we're having a conversation. It's my everyday cloak. It's my special everyday cloak. And then all of a sudden, God said, put your hand in your everyday cloak, and you pull out, and it's leprosy. And God is saying, okay. He's saying, okay, well, what's going on? I didn't have leprosy when I woke up this morning. I didn't have leprosy. My wife doesn't have leprosy. How did I get this disease? And God is saying, put it back in there. And it's 100% healed again from outside looking in. What did you do, Moses? But what God is saying, listen, I can take it away. I am God. And if it looks terrible, that's okay, because I am God. I control it all. Alpha and Omega, beginning and the end. I say, and it is. I'm the one that is, that was, and yet to come. It is me. So it may look this way, but remember, you serve me. You're working for me. You are being the little me on earth. So I'm not going to let anything that's not supposed to hurt you to hurt you. So anybody who tells you that you're not walking in the light as He is in the light because something bad happened to you, understand this: it may look like I will be utterly destroyed, but I know a God that late in the midnight hour can turn this thing back around. It may look like that maybe my faith isn't as great as it needs to be because things around me are falling apart. But let me tell you something. The Bible says that when the enemy comes in like a flood, I will build a standard around you. If you look back to the trial by fire, when the Baal worshipers were slashing themselves and going crazy, and the prophet sitting there looking at him, laughing, and say, hey, maybe your God is asleep, and maybe he's slumbering, maybe you beat yourself a little hard and he'll come. And there was no answer on their end. This man decided that he would make this thing look impossible and pours water all over the offering after building the standard around it so that none of the water hits anybody else. And what did God do? It looked like there's no way to catch this water on fire. We already seen the God that they served by the multitude not answer, but this God who was doubted to answer in the beginning, then he doused water all over it. Then this God answered by fire. But not only did he consume the altar and the sacrifice, this God consumed all of the water inside of the standard that was built. What I am saying is this: it may look impossible. It may look hazardous for your health. It may look like it's not for you. It may look like it can't be done. It may look like you've done all that you can. It may look like no one's listening to you. It may look like you're making no progress. It may look like no one cares about you. It may look like you have nothing yet to offer. It may look like things will never change. But if you serve the God I serve, nothing with Him is how it seems, because what He is doing is working things out. What it is His goal is to prosper you. And that doesn't change because He said it, it will be. He is in covenant with us, a covenant promise with us. But remember, without faith, it is impossible to see God. And the next thing is, do you have the faith? Now listen, guys, this part really hurt my heart. Moses. We read over this so fast. He said, God said, put your hand in there. Boom, it's in. And then he pulls out and he has leprosy. And then he says, God says, put it back in there. How many of us, think about it now, would have put our arms back in there without asking a question? I don't see any hands. I would have asked so many questions. Wait a minute. I put it in the first time, God, and now I'm about to die, okay? Leprosy is a terrible disease. You literally fall apart, okay? You literally fall apart, okay? At this time, there is no ceremony biblically sanctioned or God sanctioned to even clean leprosy. That doesn't come into Leviticus, okay? That doesn't come into the laws. So if he has leprosy, it is a death sentence. And here's God freely giving it to him. Here it is. And then he says, put your hand back in. And listen, some of us will get offended by something someone said, leave this church and never come back. Just for me saying something. Just from brother, sister, somebody saying something, okay? Now how many of us have the faith to believe that there is some things that are going to happen that's going to make us super uncomfortable, and we're going to want to throw in the towel, we're going to want to run away, but then have faith enough in God to go back? He said, put your arm back in there. Just put it back. I didn't say, and I'll heal it. Just go back. And if you just have the faith, watch God restore what the enemy tried to steal with doubt and fear and insecurities. How many of us believe in the God of restoration? The term was, and his skin was restored. How many of us have situations that we left damaged, that we left beat up and bruised, personal relationships that we have no interest in going back, and people that we see day to day with family or friends or just burnt bridges, and God is saying, listen to me, I'm going to call you to go back. How many of us believe that he can restore it back to where it was? And the example of Philemon even elevate the situation to a grander point. God can, if you just have the faith, that he can restore. I know that it's difficult, but understand it must have been difficult for Moses to put his hands back in there. But listen, he had no choice. One, it was God that told him to do it. And two, if he ever wanted a way out, the only way out of it was through God. If we can just lean on him to the point where we know and believe the only way out is through God. Yes, I'm upset, but the only way to get past is through God. Yes, I'm offended, but the only way to get forgiveness is through God. Yes, I fail, but the only way to get back up is through God. Yes, I'm tired, but the only way to be rejuvenated is through God. Yes, I am still a little bit faithless, but the only way to gain faith is through God. Yes, I'm in trouble, but the only way to get restored is through God. Yes, I feel like I'm alone, but the only one that can stand with me is God. Yes, I'm feeling low on spiritual life, but the only way to get back is God. I don't know enough word, but the only way to get it is to get back in the Word of God. Yes, I feel like I can't do no more, but the only way to find out what's left inside of me is God. Yes, I don't know if there's anything in the Bible that applies itself to me, but the only way to do that is to get back in touch with God. Do we have the faith to go against our own thought process? Because human self-preservation says don't do it. Human self-preservation goes, Moses, run. Don't put your hand back in there. We just cut this one off. You still got one left. Get away. But yet, when you're in the presence of God, when your heart is aligned with who God is, there's nothing else to do but stand. The Bible says when you have done all you can to stand, stand anyhow. And in my brain, that makes no sense. I can't stand anymore. How am I able to stand? But you got to come to the conclusion that the only way to do it is through God. We have to build that faith that says, I know that it's impossible for me, for my friends, for the circle of influence that's telling me what to do, but yet we have to remain faithful. And of course, I'm going to bring up Job, who was in the same situation, but he realized after questioning God, because he did question God, he said, but listen, he came to the conclusion that the only way he can get back to normal is through God. Do we have the faith The faith that says, listen, the world broke me, but you can restore me. I mean, my humanity is killing me, but God, you are the God of the resurrection. God, I'm so confused, but God, you're not the author of confusion. God, I'm weak, but God, if I'm weak, that's when your strength is made real. This God that we serve works in a balance of what we can do, I can do. The question is, again, in the scripture, who is the strong man in your heart? You gotta have this inner willpower to push past it. And I'm not trying to motivate you. I'm just trying to get you to a point of spiritual discipline to say that when I can, I know God can. And if I can't utter the word, the Bible says he knows the desires of your heart. He truly eliminates every excuse we could ever come in by his grace, his infinite grace, his infinite mercy, his infinite power. And let me just tell you one thing, that once you come over one thing and you're like, yes, now I know God is real, and people come around and they say, wow, how'd you do it? It's God. And you thinking you got a strong ministry, and then people coming to you and they want to know how you did it. And remember this, what God said to Moses, here it is. If they don't believe you or pay attention to the first side, then maybe do a second one, which means that God may do a second work in you. It's not that you've done anything entirely wrong, but remember, God's will that none shall perish. None. Can we have that faith of none? God, if there's something I got to go through so that more of the none can happen, then Lord God, I have the faith. I'll put my hand back in. What, God? I'll put my hand back in. Because every time you bring me out, I'm strengthened. And there's somebody out there who doesn't have the strength that I have. I want to have that none shall perish faith. None shall perish. That means that no matter what's going on, I'm getting up, standing on the promises of God. Despite what that means for me. And that's a tough thing to say. Don't say unless you mean it, because believe me, I have said it and I've been through some stuff. Okay? I've been on the side of the road and saying, God, I just need you to show me how I can be a witness to someone. It was 5 years ago on Burley Parkway. It was about 100 degrees outside, and my friend blew his tire. And let me tell you something, if you ever try to change a tire on blacktop in 100-degree weather, it's not comfortable. But I'm sitting there like, God, you know I got to be somewhere. You know I got to do something. Why in the world would this be? When I say it happened like that, it was like I said it, and then 2 miles down the road, tire blew. And I said, okay, God, I don't know what this is. My friend's going crazy. We got to get to work, and we're trying to change this tire. Nobody pulls over for us on the side of the road. I don't think we was attractive enough, but that's okay. And we're standing there, we're shaking our hands, and we're saying, come on now, somebody help us. And we finally get down to change the tire, and all of a sudden this car pulls up. And it's like, but I said, oh man, thank God you guys showed up. God, don't thank God, we just did this. We don't believe in God. I'm like, oh, okay, God, this is what it is? Okay, atheist, awesome, let's do this. And all of a sudden, God gave an opportunity to speak life into some people. Not that I said, oh God, 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 but I just had a general conversation. And I said, listen, we were about to foot it to the store that we worked in. Now, mind you, in the middle of Burley Parkway, it wouldn't matter either way we went. It probably would not have made it, would have passed out of heat exhaustion. You guys just so happened to be going down the road with a jack and the same size spare tire that you are going to go to sell to the tire store. Now, come on now, you cannot tell me that there's a coincidence that you are going to sell this tire back to the tire store. Same size tire we need. And you just so happen to be pulling over the side of the road, and I have the same 30 bucks in my pocket that you are going to sell that tire for. There must be a God somewhere. Amen. I am proud to tell you that this person is now in the faith. It is Deacon John Portland, all right, of the St. Clair Baptist Church in Lexington, Kentucky. And I'm telling you, if it had not been for faith in God, to say, I know this is a terrible situation, and yeah, I had burns from the concrete. Yes, I was sweating profusely. I was about 10 shades darker than I am now. But I'm telling you something. If it helped that none get a little bit bigger, if I could just get more people to know who you are so they can go on the straight and the narrow. And I mean, I don't think I did anything other than do what God called me to do in that moment. Like we said last week, God creates the converts. All I was saying was, I'm not going to let this situation take me out of the faith. God, I asked you for this. it's going to be. But I praise you, and I have the faith that if I have to do that again, if I have to put my hand back in my cloak, not knowing what's going to happen, I will do it. Let us all stand. You're invited to pray today. Is there anybody that wants to say, God, I want to be the one to put my hand back in. But God, maybe you're that person whose hand got pulled out and you have the contaminated hand and you just lost faith. And God is saying, just put it back in the cloak, man. I'm going to restore it. Oh, I'm going to restore it. I just need you to have the faith to take what you believe to be a contaminated illness, something that will destroy your faith or your being or your reputation or something like that, and put it back in and watch me restore it. It's not what it seems. What you think is built to destroy you, I'm going to make it into a stepping stool, and it'll do nothing but elevate you, because He's God, and He's that mighty, and He's that great, and He's that loving, and in spite of you and all the things that are unclean in your life, He is holy. His holiness has no equal. So whatever it is that you're holding on to, remember, God's holiness can touch, it can cleanse, it can restore, it can rebuild, it can connect, it can unscramble, it can bring clarity. Because that's what God's holiness does. It aligns you with Him. You know, I remember when I was in Bible study years ago, and we talked about how do you build a house in faith, and everyone had these great answers, and I just drew it because I've always been this thinker. I don't know why, I always think things crazy. So I built the structure of the house. You know, it was very, very elementary. It was a triangle on top of a rectangle, and I said, here's my building material. I said, the foundation is built on faith, the walls is built on faith, the floors is made of faith. The door is made of belief. And everything in that room, in the house, the grass, I'm growing faith. The trees are faith trees. And the fruit that it bears, boy, it strengthens my belief. And I said, but once you put all this together, it's not theologically sound, by the way, but God named my house holy. And my mom showed me the picture of that a couple weeks ago, and I said, man, if I only knew what God was saying to me then. I guess my appeal to you guys today is simply this. Build your house on what connects you to God. Faith, belief, fruits of the Spirit, and nothing, no problem, no issue can ever destroy it. I am telling you, the song says, Christ is on the rock I stand, right? You hear the story of the parable of the man who built his house on sand, and one that built it on the rock. Is your house built on the rock today? Are you standing in front of the holy ground? You entered into it, and you're like, I thought I was where I need to be, but here, this part of my being is infected, and I have to step away. But God is saying, let me restore it. Is there somebody today that wants to pray? Maybe you're guarding your heart from God, and He's saying, listen, I'm already there. You're in the right place. All you have to do is answer the door. He says, Lord, I'm knocking. Any man answers, come to me. Come on now, let Him in. He'll hear your prayer. He'll heal your land. You're carrying things that you're not supposed to carry. Remember, nothing with God is how it seems. Oh. We could be here all day talking about the time where God revealed situations for what they really were. And just the power that He gave. Because once you see that mountain as the anthill that it is, all of a sudden something in there just starts to, I don't know, you get to fight again, you know? It's like being in a room and hearing a noise and then going in that room scared, and when you get in there and put the light on, you're like, yeah, ain't nothing in this room. Ain't nothing in this room. You ever done that? I did it. Just last night, actually. It's scary with nobody in there now. But I went in that room and I said, ain't nobody in my house. You better not be in that room. That's what God does when He finally reveals to you, or you're able to see that it's not what it looks like. You're like, oh man, I was scared for nothing. You know, it took me an hour to get from my room at the end of the house to the office at the other end. It took me literally 30 minutes creeping like this, you know. And how many of us take days and weeks and years before we finally see what God was trying to tell us the first day? Like, nothing's there. At least nothing more powerful than me. And greater is in me than He is in the world. We're more than conquerors. There's somebody today. Our goal again, what we do while we encounter God is so we can say these words and mean it. I will never be the same. That's the goal. Is to never, ever have to go through what we went through without knowing what we know now. Does that make it any easier? By faith it does. Does it make the situation any less what the situation is? No, but at least you know now where your power lies. And that God prepared a way. He's before you, He's behind you, He's beside you. He's on the other end waiting for you to cross over. All right, let's pray. Alex, we're going to close this out in prayer today. As we prepare for prayer, let us to consider the things that we know God is going to be faithful to us for.
For this beautiful day, thank you for blessing us with this message. I pray that you apply it to our lives so we can have faith in our daily lives and trust in you. And I just pray that you just be with us and our families and bless our hearts. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.